He's almost an illusionist. I think that's where he got the nickname Luka Magic.
In my position, when you see certain players in the league and you think, there's no way I'll ever have that player on my team. It's just impossible unless you draft a star like that. And so we had to give up a lot to get Luka, but the opportunity to get him. And, I look back and, the last time I saw Kobe alive was about a month before he passed.
Just when Luka Dončić was finally starting to look fully comfortable in purple and gold, just when the Lakers were beginning to feel like his team instead of just the team he got traded to, the noise off the court came crashing in all at once. And then Jeanie Buss stepped in with an announcement that changed the tone of the entire conversation. Not a soft endorsement, not a vague vote of confidence, a full public commitment. The Lakers are building around Luka. That was the message. And when an owner says that out loud in the middle of personal turmoil and non-stop media chatter, it lands like a warning shot to everybody watching.
He's almost an illusionist. I think that's where he got the nickname Luka Magic.
Because let's be clear right from the start, this story gets messy fast when people start mixing basketball, private life, gossip, and internet drama into one giant headline. But the part that matters most for the Lakers is actually very simple. Jeanie Buss did not sound uncertain. She did not sound hesitant. She did not talk like Luka was just another star passing through Los Angeles. She talked like he was the franchise centerpiece, the future, the guy. And in a city like LA, with a fan base that has seen icons come and go, that is not a casual thing to say.
I mean, this is, as you said, injury, forget to insult, to embarrassment. They were humiliated, and now Luka's hurt, complete disaster for the Lakers. It puts his All-NBA status probably up.
Here's the part nobody is talking about. The coldest part of Jeannie's announcement was not the praise itself, it was the timing of it. Because when public conversation starts drifting toward drama, toward speculation, toward every possible distraction that can pull focus away from basketball, a franchise has two options. It can sit back and let the noise define the player, or it can step forward and define him on its own terms. Jeanie Buss chose the second one. She put the spotlight right back where the Lakers wanted it, on Luka as the face of the team. And that matters because Luka's Lakers story did not begin with peace or comfort. It began with a shock. One minute he was the cornerstone in Dallas, the player everybody assumed would be there forever, and the next he was waking up in a whole different reality. That is the kind of move that can leave a star rattled for months. And honestly, it should. You build roots somewhere, you think you understand your future, and then the phone rings and everything changes. That is not just a trade. That is a life detour.
In the Western Conference, but Luka, second quarter, goes down, grabs that left hamstring. We assume it's a re-aggravation of what caused him to sit out the 4 games before the All-Star break.
So when Jeanie Buss later came out and basically said this team is moving forward with Luka at the center of everything, that was bigger than a quote. That was organizational therapy. That was the Lakers telling him, we know what just happened to you and we're not treating you like a rental. We're treating you like the next chapter. In Los Angeles, where stars are expected to shine immediately and endlessly, that kind of reassurance can be the difference between a player feeling like an employee and a player feeling like an heir. This is where it gets dangerous, because once an owner openly says the franchise is being built around one player, that player loses the luxury of being viewed sympathetically. Fans stop saying he's adjusting. The media stops saying he needs time. Now the language becomes, this is your team, prove it. That is the real tax of stardom. The comfort disappears the second the crown is placed on your head. And in Luka's case, that pressure came while he was already dealing with a major life transition, both professionally and personally.
Luka Dončić separated from his fiance and is now in a custody battle.
I think right before I got on and said that she left, took the kid, and now is seeking child support.
That is why the phrase Jeanie used about Luka being almost an illusionist hits so hard, because she was not just complimenting his passing or his court vision, she was linking him to Lakers magic, to that tradition of stars who make the game feel theatrical, impossible, almost unfair. In LA, that is not just praise, that is mythology. That is the franchise saying, we see you not just as a great player, but as a performer in our own historical language. And that is a huge thing to place on somebody.
The Lakers look like absolute pretenders, but you don't want to overreact to even a blowout loss in the regular season.
Now let's talk basketball, because that part cannot get buried under the noise. Luka did not come to Los Angeles as some unproven name. He came as one of the most gifted offensive engines in the sport, a player who can control pace, manipulate angles, bend defenses, and make teammates better even on nights when he does not look explosive. That is why owners and executives get hypnotized by him. His game does not just produce numbers, it creates gravity. It changes the entire geometry of the floor. And when Jeanie Buss says the Lakers are building around that, she is admitting something else. She is admitting that the old version of the team, whatever balance they thought they had before, is gone. This is not about preserving past identity anymore. This is about constructing a new one. Every roster decision, every coaching adjustment, every offseason move starts getting filtered through one question. Does this maximize Luka? That is the kind of shift that changes everything inside a franchise.
With the coaching staff, with the medical staff, and the only thing I'll push back on all these accusations that is JJ to blame for Luka's injury is what the hell do we play this season for?
Here's the part nobody is talking about. Building around a star is not always the same as helping a star. Sometimes organizations say they are building around someone, but really they're just placing more weight on his shoulders. The difference is in the details. Are you giving him defenders who can cover for his weaknesses? Are you giving him shooters who punish doubles? Are you giving him another creator so he does not have to carry every possession emotionally and physically? Or are you just hanging banners of confidence around him and hoping the talent solves the rest? That is the question the Lakers now have to answer. And that is why this story actually connects to the NFL more than people might think. Because all over football right now, teams are trying to figure out the same thing with young quarterbacks. It is not enough to identify the guy, you have to build the environment. You see it with franchises trying to protect rookie quarterbacks with veteran bridges, stronger offensive lines, better schemes, and more clarity. The same principle applies here. Luka can be the centerpiece, but if the Lakers do not build the right ecosystem around him, the announcement becomes pressure without protection. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They hear the organization say you're the future, and they take that as a sign to do even more. More scoring, more forcing, more hero ball, more emotional overextension. But the truly great ones learn the opposite lesson. When the franchise commits to you, your job is not to get louder. It is to get steadier, more efficient, more intentional, more disciplined. That is the next test for Luka in LA. Not proving he can do spectacular things. We already know that. Proving he can turn that brilliance into sustainable leadership under a completely different kind of spotlight. Because there is a difference between being the star in Dallas and being the star of the Lakers. In Dallas, you can be beloved and central without becoming a daily global soap opera. In Los Angeles, every movement becomes content. Every silence becomes a theory. Every personal development risks getting turned into a referendum on your professionalism, your focus, your maturity, your future. That is what makes Jeannie's public commitment so interesting. It was not just praise, it was protection. It was her saying, whatever else is swirling around this guy, we are not wavering. And honestly, that is what strong ownership is supposed to do. Not interfere with basketball operations every second, not create more headlines, but step in when the public narrative starts going sideways and restore the organization's voice. Because the worst thing a franchise can do to a star in transition is let outside chatter become the loudest thing in the room. Buss made sure that did not happen. She reminded everybody that the Lakers, from the top, view Luka as a foundation piece. Now, does that mean every claim and every dramatic angle around his personal life should suddenly become part of the basketball conversation? No. And that's another important point here. There's a huge difference between documented public developments and sensational storytelling. Too many people online treat a player's private life like it's just another stat line to break down. It's not, it's real life, and the responsible way to talk about it is not to turn speculation into fact or drama into guilt. It's to recognize that elite athletes can be going through painful personal transitions while still being expected to lead billion-dollar franchises on national television. This is where it gets dangerous, because the sports world loves a clean narrative. If a player struggles for 2 weeks, people want to tie it to whatever off-court story is floating around. If he has a big game, they want to turn it into a revenge arc or a redemption arc or some cinematic proof that everything is healed. Real life is usually much less tidy than that. And with Luka, the temptation to oversimplify is huge because he's famous, gifted, emotional, and now at the center of the biggest basketball brand in the world. That makes every storyline feel bigger than it is and more definitive than it should be. But if we stay with the basketball, the Lakers' decision is easy to understand. You do not stumble into a player like Luka very often. There are only a handful of guys in the world who can bend a defense with their eyes, walk a game into their pace, and make impossible passes feel routine. That is why Jeanie sounded the way she did. She knows the franchise has had stars before, but this one has a chance to define the next era. And in a post-LeBron transition world, that is everything. Now add the emotional layer of Lakers history to it. That franchise does not just sell wins, it sells continuity of greatness. Magic to Kobe, Kobe to LeBron, and now the search for the next central figure. When Jeanie talks about Luka Magic, she is not just speaking to the present. She is placing Luka inside that lineage, or at least opening the door for him to step into it. That is a powerful thing to offer, but it's also a heavy thing to accept. Because once fans hear that language, they don't just want elite production, they want legacy. Here's the part nobody is talking about. Legacy in LA is not built only on talent, it's built on emotional ownership. The city has to feel like you're theirs. The fan base has to feel like you chose the weight instead of merely inheriting it. That is why early uncertainty around Luka's trade adjustment mattered. Fans can tell when a player is still emotionally living somewhere else. But once he signs the extension, once ownership publicly commits, once the messaging becomes crystal clear, the chapter changes. Now it's not about whether he wanted to come, it's about what he is going to become. And that is where the Lakers have to be careful. Because building around Luka does not mean copying Dallas with better weather. It means learning from what did and did not work before. It means not assuming the ball in his hands solves every problem. It means asking hard questions about conditioning, defensive balance, pace, lineup versatility, and emotional leadership. The Lakers can't just be enchanted by the magic, they have to engineer around it. This is where young players usually make a mistake. They hear the organization say you're the future, and they take that as a sign to do even more. More scoring, more forcing, more hero ball, more emotional overextension. But the truly great ones learn the opposite lesson. When the franchise commits to you, your job is not to get louder, it is to get steadier, more efficient, more intentional, more disciplined. That is the next test for Luka in LA. Not proving he can do spectacular things, we already know that. Proving he can turn that brilliance into sustainable leadership under a completely different kind of spotlight. And that is why this announcement felt chilling to some people. Not because it was sinister, but because it was absolute. There was no softness to it, no we hope, no if things go well, just a clear directional statement. And when ownership gives you that level of public backing, it's both a gift and a challenge. A gift because you know where you stand, a challenge because now there's nowhere to hide. And honestly, the West doesn't care about your emotional adjustment period. Nobody in Denver feels normal. The question is whether the Lakers have the patience and clarity to keep building honestly instead of reacting emotionally to every twist. And that brings us back to Luka himself. The most important thing he can do now is not answer every headline, not respond to every wave of speculation, not act like he has to perform emotional invincibility. His job is to turn the owner's faith into structure on the floor, better conditioning, better two-way engagement, smarter late-game command, sharper leadership, more resilience. The magic is already there. The next level is responsibility, because that is what separates stars from franchise legends. Stars amaze you. Franchise legends stabilize eras. They carry not just the offense, but the emotional identity of the team. They make players want to come. They make teammates trust the hard nights. They make ownership's boldest statements look wise instead of premature. That is the tier Luka is being invited to now. So the bigger legacy angle here is obvious. If this works, Jeanie Buss's announcement will be remembered as the moment the Lakers formally handed Luka the future. The moment they stopped treating him like the shocking result of a blockbuster trade and started treating him like the author of the next chapter. But if it doesn't work, if the roster never fully fits, if the pressure cracks something important, if the off-court noise keeps bleeding into the on-court story, then the same announcement will be replayed as evidence of how quickly the Lakers convinced themselves they had already found their next immortal. And that is why this is not really a gossip story, no matter how much people want to package it that way. It's a power story, a franchise power story, an ownership story, a legacy story. Luka's private life may be getting dragged into the public spotlight, but the Lakers' response was not to engage the mess, it was to harden the basketball message. To say, in effect, whatever else is being said, we know who our team is built around. That is a serious move, and it leaves us with the question that should have every fan arguing. Did Jeanie Buss make the perfect show of faith at exactly the right time, or did she just place a level of pressure on Luka Dončić that no player can fully escape once the city starts expecting magic on command? Because if the Lakers are truly his now, then the next chapter is not about whether Luka is brilliant. We already know that. It's about whether brilliance under this kind of spotlight can become something even colder and harder to stop: ownership of the entire era.